Okay, we'll call this meeting to order at 6:33. And first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chris, I just realized that when we do that pledge, nobody has unmuted their microphone. So it's like just, it's just you and me.
Yeah. Okay, so next up's agenda review. I don't have any revisions. Julie, do you have any?
I don't think I do. We'll find out. I don't think so.
Good. Anyone else? Not seeing any. Okay. Move on to correspondence, visitors, and public comments, which I don't believe we have any public today.
No, Bonnie is here to talk about our HRA and third-party administration bid that went out, but I don't see anyone else.
Yeah. Okay. Moving right along then. We're on to approval of the minutes from September. I don't have a date. It was September
1st.
Oh yeah, that's today. Never mind. The 1st.
Chris, I'll make the motion to approve those minutes.
So Devin's the first, second. Terry's the second. Any discussion?
Just that Pierrette continues to amaze me how she is able to capture all that.
Okay. No other discussion. We can vote. All those in favor of approving September 1st minutes, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0. Next up is presentations. First up is the elementary administration updates.
So, alphabetically, Joyce, do you want to go first?
Oh, I will. But you have to watch out because I don't think I said anything at the last 2 meetings. So buckle your seats now. I promise I won't be too long. So I am so excited though. And before I even talk about the opening of school, I just have to say other really good things happened this summer. And I really do hope you have a chance to read the reports because, you know, even just our summer enrichment program, we had more kids summer than we've ever had before. And I feel like every cloud has a silver lining. Some kids could never come before because of transportation. So because we were doing it remotely this summer, we had 20 kids, which is more than we've had before. The professional development that the teachers did over the summer just will continue to move us forward. And just the presentation, the day-long presentation we had with Sarah Ward that we had asked for, it just so far exceeded our expectations for what we had hoped for. And we're so excited about using that this year, all those strategies that she gave us. And we'll be following up at all of our meetings on that. But there were just so many good things that happened besides COVID and planning for, you know, all around that. So, but for the opening of school, I just was so amazed at how smoothly things went. I don't know how many sleepless nights we all had with the planning, and it just was so great to have the kids back. And we had kindergarten orientation on August 21st, and that went so well. So that kind of was an indicator to me because I was about 20 parents for that and kids, and that went really well. So I, you know, really had high hopes for the opening. But even so, I just was so pleased with how well everything went. I think all the work that we did in June when we had the transition activities where kids met their teachers in June, they did activities with their new teacher, they saw what their classroom was going to look like, they heard about their classes. I think that just went such a long way in making kids feel comfortable even back then. And even though we had 14 new students, I think on my report I said 16, 2 ended up not moving in, but still 14, which is a big number. Even though we had 14 new students, all of those families visited school and met their teachers prior to school starting. And so I think that was really huge too. All the planning and communication we did with families over the summer, I think really, again, showed in how smoothly things went. I think teachers contacting every family the week before school started, that was huge. Parents had a chance one-on-one to talk to teachers about any concerns or questions that they had. Parents did a great job. Are you guys hearing crying in the background at my house? I have dogs that I just shut away while I was doing my report and they're crying. 2 therapy dogs that now are needing therapy, I guess. So the parents, I think, did a great job talking to kids about masking and distancing, and all the, so many people were so worried about that, and they just were non-issues. The kids understood about the changes that had to happen, and we did talk to them about the changes and why they were happening. But I also spent a long time talking with kids when I was going around doing my spiel 12 times this year, that, so many things were still going to be the same. So, yep, there were some changes, but we were going to try very hard to keep things as normal as possible. So even though we couldn't have an opening assembly, I still read my opening day book. I just recorded it. We still unveiled the wish list items that kids wanted for inside and outside recess, but it was recorded. We talked about that we'll still have a fun first Friday, but it just wasn't going to be the first Friday. And I just think knowing that, that we're still going to have kids come down and lead the Pledge of Allegiance. I just have to shove the PA under the plexiglass. They're still going to ring the bell every day. That having the consistency of those routines and those traditions, I think is just so important. To kids just really feeling, less anxious and being really comfortable. Things that were highlights too was the weather really cooperating so we could get outside a lot. Just a few things that teachers said. Not one complaint about recess being different or wearing a mask. Great attitude and good sport. So proud of their mindset. My highlight is just how responsible and adaptable kids have been. They've been awesome about wearing masks, respecting boundaries, being flexible. Another teacher said a parent called just to say what a great day the student had, and he'd been previously really nervous. All of the remote work that kids are doing, teachers have really commented on how well they feel the remote days are going, that they've been really feeling like the kids were well prepared. The 6th grade decided that their class motto was going to be go with the flow. I think that was all of our motto this summer, but go with the flow, and how well they're sticking by it so far. Another highlight was the great news about kids, all the food being free. But I just have to say that Jen and Carolyn had done a whole lot of planning around things they were going to do with the hot lunch program this year. And hearing 1 week before school was starting, that kind of threw a little wrench in some of the things that they had planned, but they went with the flow too. And we're working around it. One highlight that I had as far as teachers go, that I wanted to share with you, because it has to do with just the work that you guys do around our budget and our financial support. Because on the second day of in-service, I was trying really hard to sprinkle good news throughout the first couple of days, because it was pretty overwhelming doing the reoccupancy plan, the reopening plan, the strong and healthy start guidelines. And so I kept trying to sprinkle good news, throughout the day, and I'd save a couple of big surprises for the end of the day, which I found out from our social and emotional learning training that is called optimistic closure. I always thought I was just trying to end on a good note, but it's actually called optimistic closure. And anyway, what was so neat on the second day, and it had been 2 long days, teachers did not know that it was their year to get their replacement laptops. And at the end of the day, I had Kathy Ovett wheel in a cart with their new laptops. And you just would not have believed the reaction. And I wish you all could have been there, because they couldn't believe it. They just started cheering, and every person that went up to get their laptop, everyone else clapped as they went up to get their laptop. And I finally said, "You guys, you're acting like you're going up to get an Academy Award or something." And they're like, "Joyce, this is so much better." So you just have to know how much people really appreciate all of those things. And I really do want to mention again the donation that we got from the community. That's also in my report. The donation from the telephone company, because that was a surprise on another day. And it just allowed teachers to buy some things that they might not ordinarily have been able to get for kids. And so that was really great. But even more so, there were several times this summer when people from the community called, don't even have kids in school. And they called just to say, "We're with you, we're supporting you, whatever ends up happening for the start of school." And it just makes you feel so humble. And like I said in my report, there just aren't enough words to thank everybody for their incredible trust that they've given us, their flexibility, all the hard work from everybody, Mvsd staff, our own Franklin staff, but the parents, the community, and the kids. And it's just, I've said several times this summer, I would never have wanted to go through this anywhere else. It's just been incredible. Like I said, amazing teamwork, and just so proud of everybody, and just so excited to get the year started. And I know I talked longer, but like I said, I'm sorry. But I really am so excited, and it's nice. I just wish we could meet in person again. It was so nice having the kids in person. So someday soon, hopefully. But thank you, and I do hope you get a chance to read our reports, because there are more things in the reports, and there's some upcoming events and things too for you to know about. So thank you. Now I can let my dogs free again. Signing off.
Thank you, Joyce. So, how about Swan?
I'd be glad to go. It's just not alphabetical order, but that's okay. Yeshua was dying to go. I think he should follow Joyce, though, actually.
Go with the flow. Go with the flow.
Okay, go with the flow. My goodness, I'm gonna say all the thank yous. I miss this group of people because we spent so much time together as an administrative team. It is really weird not seeing each other like every day, but the support from the admin team, from central office team was incredible, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without them, and obviously the support of the board. The biggest thing I will say is it worked out so well that our teachers had time to plan for our kids. And I know that was, throughout the state and pushing things ahead, but I think our staff was feeling really, really good when those kids walked in the door and felt confident in the instruction and the teaching and the setup, the physical safety of kids. So I can't even imagine what it would have been like without that. So that was huge. I think our biggest cheer the day we announced the air filters for each of the classrooms, people were just ecstatic. And I think humbled in the sense, I think that might be the right word, because they were feeling very, very good that people cared about them. So that was pulling that together. Laura working with the facilities guys on such a short notice was outstanding. And I think it calmed a lot of fears because people were very nervous coming back. So those gifts, I think, made a huge difference. Our start of the school year in service seems so long ago, but I'll echo Joyce. We had in Swanton, we had 4 very, very full packed days of professional learning. We had the safety plan, Justina led that, the reoccupancy plan, all of those things we went through. But we also had Joelle was with us for one afternoon. She actually started our first day in the actually mid-morning. We came together And her kicking it off, talking about trauma and taking care of the adults was huge. I think that really helped to set the tone. And then our keynote and the work around the social emotional, and then again with Joyce, the executive functioning. So teachers were really engrossed in that learning because they knew they had time to work on their planning and setting up their rooms and all of that. So that it's really hard to describe, because with all of the stress going into this, the timeline, I think, made it easier for people, and people were not feeling as stressed. A huge shout out to Justina. She worked hours and hours and hours on our new dismissal plan. Kudos to MVU. Those buses are there. And like 3 days in a row, we have been done at 3 o'clock. And that is amazing, because even in a good year, without COVID, it's usually hard to get that going. But the system has been working out well. Parents have thanked us for that. It's very, very organized. The other thing that's really interesting this year and feels good, our non-classroom teachers all have a duty in the morning or afternoon. They're screening kids, they're helping with dismissal, but every adult in that building, they're not only teaching, but they're really involved with the smooth running of things. And I think they feel good about it. I know Justina and I do, because, sometimes it's just that small group that steps forward, but the collegialship and camaraderie, I think, feels really good among them. I think our kids coming back have felt really good. The recess thing is quite funny. One of my 5th grade girls, who has quite a sense of humor, Greg Carpenter, our PE teacher, made grids on our soccer field. So the kids are literally in their grids for recess time. And we have structured recess, so they're playing games. But this little girl, one day when I said, "Hey, how are things going?" she goes, "Really good, except for that glorified detention." And I'm like, "What do you mean glorified detention? That thing you're calling recess," she said. So she was hilarious. I'm like, "Yeah, I guess it does feel like that when you got to stay in your little squares." But the adults outside are feeling good, and the kids are. So the feeling is really good in the midst of uncertainty. Our teachers, I think, our biggest class right now is about 11 kids, and our teachers are really feeling that they're meeting these kids' needs. In the Babcock building, a little bit more challenging. I was just going to say my planning room hasn't been used this year, so we haven't had to clean it. But what's better is that kids are not struggling in that way. And I think a lot of that is because they've got lots of supports in place. Our teachers are feeling good. Jess Borbo, who is taking Joan Lumbra's place, both Jess and Debbie created our parent template for our remote learning days. So the teachers have a lot of guidance and support there as well. You got our report, Justina. I don't know if you want to add anything. Just Jason gave a really good facilities update too. So he's done that work, but I just really wanted to comment on the feeling and the feeling of support, and I think security is the right word from our staff right now. So, do you want to add anything, Miss Justina?
I was just going to say, I feel like right now teachers are feeling really safe with the hybrid and the amount of room. We have one class next door with Babcock that has 13 kids in it on a half day. So they're spread out, but it's still just at that minimum, that 3-4 feet. So they're feeling really good about the decision for hybrid. I think that was a really good kind of way to get back into the year for them, because there's already some worries about bringing back 24 kids in a classroom with that, but we're doing well. I was just happy about the dismissal plan, because I had nightmares of cars backed up into the road and Julie getting calls from the state police and having to redo it like at midnight overnight. So I'm all smiles because of that.
It's working. Yeah. It's good. Just to add one thing, just on our numbers, as luck always has it, we have 3 of our teachers who are working with our virtual academy. And so we did some reconstruction of kids based on some of our kids going to the virtual academy. And wouldn't you know that every grade level that we adjusted and kind of took a classroom away, that's where our new kids have been coming in. So those numbers have been creeping up. You know, it's Murphy's Law that that's going to happen, but our teachers have been really, really good with that. I also want to send a huge shout out at Kosha, Jen DeSorger. Those two have been working incredibly hard around the virtual academy. We have 3 classroom teachers who are teaching for the academy and a special educator. And those people are working incredibly hard for all of our kids in the district and for kids around the state too. So I think that that's a huge commitment on their part. But so, yeah, so we're off to a good start.
Dina, how many students do we have from your school in Virtual Academy?
We have from Swanton, I think we're still at 62, and I think we're at, what, 83 or 84 with the 3 elementaries. That's where we had started.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's it from Swanton.
Thank you very much. Yeshua?
Yeah, I'm very excited to be officially reporting out on things that are happening at school with students being there. Kind of like Joyce had mentioned, we had kindergarten screening, and I was there to greet all the families and walk the kindergartners down to their classrooms. And it was just this amazing feeling of why we're here is back. And I remember walking with a little girl who had unicorn mask, a unicorn shirt, and had other unicorn apparel, and was telling me how excited she was to share with her friends once they all come back and she can see them. Other couple student things I thought was funny. I've obviously been putting some stuff out on YouTube about reopening of school with a plan, and I had a student comment on the video that said, "Wow, my principal's a YouTuber?" And I replied back, "I guess so." So I thought that was rather cool. And I also met one little girl, and the adult introduced me as the principal, and she goes, "Oh, that's great." So just having kids back, those funny things they say that just, you know, lightens your heart has been fantastic. In service as a whole was really wonderful. Staff were unbelievably supportive. Sorry, that's my youngest. All right, sorry, mom is to the rescue. But if you can tell, he has great lungs. Yeah, so in service was. You all have kids, right? So you probably know about this kind of stuff. It's the virtual world that we're living in. But yeah, so staff just seemed very flexible. They made really great suggestions, and we didn't do our town hall or put out anything until after in service, just because we wanted to see what staff brought up that might be changes we decide to make, and staff really have just been fantastic. So a huge shout out to them. This is not easy, and they're making it look like it is. So it's really been great. As I'm getting to know teachers, they're a very talented group of folks. And in particular, our veteran staff, and a lot of them that were classroom teachers and now are in intervention roles, or our coaches, they're just unbelievably supportive of our new staff. And in particular, our first day of school, we had probably 5 or 10 additional staff just greeting kids, walking them down the hallway, and just this amazing feeling of support and care and passion for kids. And the amount of smiles you could see underneath masks, and someone who doesn't know everybody and all the kids, you could just see those connections and those relationships popping up again. And in particular, Craig Aylward, who is our PBIS coordinator, is outside with me doing temperature checks for student drop-offs. And he's just lighthearted. He's making it fun, and kids love seeing him, and parents are just, I think, grateful that we're back and making it work. Coming back really has been good. And I constantly say knock on wood, because it's been very smooth so far, and kids have been very resilient and great about it. So really the first week's been wonderful. If you didn't know, KFC delivered to us last Friday as a thank you for all you do. So everybody got a 3-piece chicken meal with mashed potatoes and a biscuit, which was really cool. Kind of one of those random things that people really, really appreciated. Another thing, we did have conferences, which was our 5th day of in-service, and we had about 140 families participate, which was wonderful. And before then, I had put out that informational video in hopes that parents wouldn't be asking questions about reopening, but just let us, tell us about your child and what you're looking forward to for the year. Conferences were very successful, so that was wonderful. I also had really appreciative staff about the air filters. And that was something I put in my town hall, thanking the board, because people, just the idea that they're being filtered 4 or 6 times an hour to keep the air clean is absolutely incredible. And so I think people were very appreciative of that. I'm also making the staff get into Bitmoji Classrooms. And I don't know if you have seen that yet, but I made a really cool kind of trailer video, getting excited for school, and staff is really excited about them. And I did put in a picture. We made almost a staff photo with all the Bitmoji characters put together in front of the school. So that was really exciting. And so for our virtual open house, we're going to have Bitmoji Classrooms that parents can link to and then see the classroom in this virtual world. So that should be really fun. And I think I was also going to put a shout out for our MVVA. Trying to get our virtual learning academy up and running was no joke, but I think everybody handled it very well and really made it happen. We have a classroom teacher as well as a coordinator and a part-time coordinator who's helping to connect families with the school and the program. And people have worked really hard. It went up and running yesterday officially. There were definitely some kinks along the way, but we're getting through it. And I think families are happy that the virtual academy is now up and running and starting to go a little more smoothly. And yeah, just in general, things seem really positive at Highgate. It's been really great. Happy parents, happy kids, happy staff. So that's been really nice to see. And I had done, or Chris Palmer had set up some training for recess with our para educators. And we actually, it was a few days about what outside activities can look like, keeping kids active and moving. And paras have really taken ownership. And every day I've gone outside at recess, I've seen a para with a group of kids in organized games. And so I think the paras have really, as I said, taken a hold of that and seems to be very successful. So I think as a whole, with a new year, a new parking lot, Highgate seems to be doing well.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you very much. Terry.
Okay, so much for hitting the space bar. I just wanted to make a quick comment if I could, and that is I had some time, so I was reading all the principal reports today, and it just made me so happy. They were so optimistic. I started off with Dina's, and it was really optimistic, and I actually felt like I was there with all the details that you gave. And then Joyce, with yours, as I was reading through it, I was like, wow, a donation from the community, the electric company, was it the phone company or the electric company? Somebody did that? Phone company. And also something that you pointed out was that the teachers got updated on the new social studies curriculum. And I was thinking, as a board, it'd be nice if we could get updated on some of that stuff too, if it was done virtually. I don't know, but just a thought. And then also when I got to yours, Joshua, that's one of the reasons I was late here. I got into those virtual classrooms. I got into, and I clicked, I had somebody reading a book to me. It was so much fun. And I wondered if that was really all the avatars of all your teachers, because that's a nice looking school over there with all those avatars. It'd be great if we had one for everybody. Anyway, thank you. All of you, thank you. It was a lot of work that you put into that, but your optimism, your positivity, all those came through. So thank you.
Jen.
I just wanted to make a couple comments. Yeshua, I did see your YouTube video and the one that you did with Chris. I thought it was really good. So I commend you on that. And the bit emojis I thought were wonderful. They make me smile. And I also want to make a comment that I've spoke with for at MVU, a teacher who just was so ecstatic about having the air filters. Couldn't be more thankful and kept, reiterating how just they felt safer in the classroom. And And then speaking with parents on a parent level, how excited they were too, and knowing, wow, you know, school really does care. And I'm like, well, yeah, they do. And and then one last comment is I want to mention coaches. I know for MVU, the coaches for soccer and football have done a tremendous job at making the kids feel comfortable at wearing masks, encouraging them, you know, doing a great job with the temperature checks. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all the coaches that I know of that are doing an amazing job of making the kids feel good, because, you know, a lot of the kids were pretty iffy about having to play a game or practice wearing masks. And just want to make sure the coaches are recognized as well.
Thank you very much for the updates. It's wonderful to see the buildings being used as they're intended again, to have children in the buildings. I know my kids were pretty much happy to go back to school, 2 out of 3 anyway, and so it's wonderful to have at least some resemblance of normality again. Any other questions or comments for the elementary school updates? Seeing none, thank you very much, and we'll move on. Let's see, next up is new business, and the first up in that is our HRA addendum, which we will need in action.
So, Laura,
Yep.
is this you or Bonnie, or both together?
This one's me. It's just quick.
Okay.
Basically our current, let me just pull up the document myself here. So basically, our current contract that we have for the school district's cafeteria plan needs to be updated to accommodate some changes that are made with the law regarding COVID. A lot of it has to do with accessing prescriptions and what's needed to do that. And then there's there's a document, an amendment in the shared drive that I had shared with you a few days ago. And then there's 2 cafeteria plan joinder agreements. Basically, it just has to do with the structure of our plans and different school buildings and the way we structured the actual account, but it's all under one contract. So that just allows the amendment to apply to all the different school buildings and the plans that we have. I really don't think I need to go into a ton of detail. It's a requirement. It's going to follow the rules and regulations around COVID and how employees are allowed to access their benefit. Unless somebody has specific questions.
Laura, do you need a motion or is it just information?
I do need a motion to approve the amendment, and then I will forward that, and for Chris to sign, I will forward that electronically, Chris, to you if the board approves.
I'll make that motion. If somebody will frame it.
Don's first on allowing the board chair or vice chair to sign the HRA addendum. Second.
And two joinder agreements.
And to what?
Joinder agreements.
Okay. I saw a bunch of hands, but I didn't see who it was. Oh, Terry's a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of allowing the board chair or vice chair to sign the HR addendum, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0. Next up under new business is the third-party administration RFP. We'll also need action on this one.
So some of you who were on the Franklin Northwest board will remember when we went out to bid for a new third-party administrator. That's the company that administrates our insurance payments and benefits to the insurers and manages that. Bonnie can describe it in more detail actually than she cares to, because at the time she was the one fighting with the previous company that people may remember spectacularly mishandled the whole process in the state of Vermont, and people weren't getting their bills paid. So we have to go out to bid every so often, and we went through that process. we also, as you know, had a change in the state bargained health insurance, so that in January we'll be offering a couple of different things. So we would have to have changed our plan anyway. So Bonnie Moulton is here to talk about that process. Bonnie, do you want me to share the PowerPoint for you?
Yeah, if you don't mind, that would be great. So as Julie said, we have to have a third-party administrator that handles our health reimbursement arrangement, which is that employer-paid portion of the employee's out-of-pocket maximums for their health insurance. And it's also, they also manage our flexible spending accounts, our dependent care accounts, and now with the statewide healthcare, we have to offer a health savings account with our silver plans. So we have had Healthy Dollars for the last 2 years. We are approaching open enrollment, so we went out to bid now. The VHI has gotten behind another company that is Minnesota-based. The company's name is Further. And so VHI had arranged for our statewide HR group to have a little presentation by the 4 kind of contenders of these TPAs, which are Further, CS1, which is also owned by Delta Dental, Healthy Dollars, and DataPath, which we all know we moved away from 2 years ago. So we went out to bid and we did not receive a bid back from DataPath. We did receive one from the other 3. Unfortunately, CS1's bid was, they did not follow the RFP process and answer the questions and provide the information that was asked for. I did include their pricing structure here, but we're going to be unable to use that information. So it really brings us down to Healthy Dollars and the new company Further. Here I laid out the cost structures of all 4, but we're really going to be down to the last 2 of it. So Healthy Dollars has provided us a fantastic service. We don't have any unhappy participants in it. Their customer service is fantastic. They've been able to handle everything that we've asked them to. We really do not have complaints with the service that they have provided us. The new company Further has a very good reputation. They've been in the business for almost 30 years. They are Minnesota-based, and they're partnered with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota. So our VHI group has partnered them with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Vermont. So they are able to automatically upload files directly from Blue Cross into their system. So if we have new employees that once they're enrolled in health insurance, they're able to be enrolled directly into that system. If employees move between districts, that Blue Cross information is still able to follow them if you're using this system. And as you can see, their cost structure is significantly less.
Bonnie, what would you point out? I mean, I think the cost per participant is one of the biggest changes, but what would you say are the big differences in the cost structure that are the drivers there?
So the price per participant for Healthy Dollars is $6. They, when we went out to bid, that is what we've been currently paying them. We did not receive a lower amount in the bid process. And they have a lot of fees associated, setup fees, renewal fees is what we pay at this point, and they have annual fees. Further does not have any setup or renewal fees. They do not have any annual fees. And the one fee they have of $250 is non-discrimination testing, which we're required to do every year. The Healthy Dollars non-discrimination testing is over $1,000. But the price per participant is the biggest one. So both Healthy Dollars and Further don't charge you per account. They charge you per participant. Under Healthy Dollars, it's $6 per participant per month for administration fees. Under Further, it is for For an HRA or FSA or FSA, it's $2.25 per participant per month. An HSA is a little bit more, but they do which is up to $2.40 a participant, but they offer 3 different models of HSA, which at this point, we're not prepared to choose a model to go with. And they do a stacked pricing. So if you have multiple accounts with them, so if you did have a $2.40 HSA and a $2.25 FSA, you would just pay $2.40 per participant. So it's the higher of whichever services, but you still only pay one price, not the sum of the services. So do you mind skipping to the last slide, because that has more. Yes, please. So if we were to transition to further, we would still have to pay Healthy Dollars 3 months of to manage our runout period, which is that 90 days from January 1st to March 31st, where they would do the runout of claims from 2020. So I added that in here, and with all of the costs associated in a year, Healthy Dollars is $25,586, and further, even with the 3-month run out, is only $14,142. So I did check references on further. They had really great references. I mean, they were, I believe they were both Minnesota-based school districts, but they had good experiences with them. So I haven't found anybody to say anything negative about them, and they do have a long-standing reputation. So at this point, I think our HR department is recommending that we transition the business to further.
Bonnie, are you aware of any other Vermont?
Given the recommendation from the HR department, I would entertain a motion to accept the bid from Further to do our third-party administration. Terry's the first. Don's the second. Any discussion?
No, I have a question. Peter's the second.
Okay, Peter's the second. Don has a question.
All right. We're into discussion now. Okay. Bonnie, are you aware of any other Vermont school district that's signed on with them?
I'm not aware of anybody that's signed on with them yet. We were all introduced to them at the same point of time. I think they are the recommendation by VHI. And they are presenting to all of the districts right now. We all have to make a decision by the end of the month in order to be able to transition over in time and to be able to get the information out for open enrollment. So I am expecting that there are probably quite a number of them that are going to be looking into it.
Is Laura Soares still directly involved? I know she's retiring, but is she still at the office working? And we at VHI, she is.
Yeah, and we did a website demonstration with them yesterday. Laura, myself, Pierrette, Michelle, and Lisa in finance all did a website demonstration with them yesterday, and he was discussing the vetting process that they had gone through with Laura and her team, with Laura Soares and her team. So it sounds like they have been actually working with them for well over 6 months, it sounds like, in the vetting process.
Okay, good, because I don't know how well you know her, but she's been around for probably 30 years, probably the most knowledgeable person in Vermont when it comes to anything related to health insurance. So that's good. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Devin, then Steve.
Has Blue Cross Blue Shield of Vermont been directly part of any of these conversations? I'm just thinking about the integration that you've talked about happening and wondering if they're ready to move forward and set that up.
Yeah, so they are partnering with Blue Cross of Vermont. So Bobby Joe is the liaison with Blue Cross and VHI, and they're partnering with them, and that's why they are the recommended vendor.
And they also partner with Blue Cross Blue Shield in the states in which they currently operate, and it's quite a successful relationship. But
I guess, Laura, that raises another question. Do you know what other states participate with them besides the home state of Minnesota?
I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head any other one than Florida. They have an office also in Orlando. So they work out of there as well. I'd have to look. I've seen it now, but I don't feel comfortable enough to tell you.
No, I just thought when Laura's comment, other states, I wondered if we knew other states. It's not that significant.
well, in Minnesota, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Bonnie, but it's a majority of the market in their state, correct?
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Thank you.
Steve. Can't hear you, Steve. Nope.
How about?
Yep, hear you now.
Okay. I tell you, every single time I have to pick. I get choice of three. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Bonnie, just a question too, Laura, and I'm stickling on these kind of things, what I said before. Just kind of, they're getting you in the door, and what are the chances of once we've been there a year and a year from now or 3 years, whatever agreement we make with them right off the bat, that we're back to square one and negotiating again? Is the contract term, 1 year, 10 year? Do we go back to the table every year? Are they just inviting us in the door?
Initially, our bid, we had put it out as a 1 year contract. They had responded that, the fee was based on a 1 year contract, but they did have a little note that potentially I could see if we could extend the pricing for longer. They put this pricing out to the entire state of Vermont. So not just in our bid process. They sent some follow-up documentation to us after the presentation, and they have it, this flyer with their information and Blue Cross information with this pricing structure for the state of Vermont. And they brought it up that they had in our presentation yesterday that they had learned that they were less than half, but because this is their whole business and what they do, and they are larger, that they're able to do this. The references I checked had been with them for, I purposely chose one that had only been 2 years, but then I chose another one that had been 6 years with them, and they both were very good references. One of them had been just a startup with them. I'm assuming it's what we had gone through when our plans changed a couple years ago. They just went on board with them. Another one had been a transition from a terrible situation the woman described. They said that it was a very easy transition. They were very impressed with the transition. They always had, whenever they call, they did say a live person still answers the phone for them, which I know was a really important thing for us when we transitioned to Healthy Dollars. So it sounds like even after, the years of service, they still are pleased with the service they're receiving.
I can remember when we made that transition over to Healthy Dollars too. That was a battle back then. Mm-hmm. And it's been good. And now this company's coming in at basically half price. It sounds great.
Bonnie, do you think that they would accept a longer contract, like a 3-year contract?
I think that I can't guarantee that they would lock in the pricing. I mean, I'm happy to ask them. I think it's up to us if we want to lock into a longer contract, or if, I know I personally am a little nervous about that given everything that we have been through over the last couple of years with health insurance. And now we also have a new change this year that we're going to be presenting with having the HSA for certain plans versus an HRA and some changes to that. So I am happy to ask, but I'm nervous about requesting a longer contract.
Okay, so let's not.
I would definitely concur with that.
Yeah.
Especially since it wasn't part of the bid process.
Okay.
Can I ask, the question I have is, it sounds like you all are worried that this is going to be a whole nother thing, that in 2 years they're going to come back, or after this contract, and they're going to be twice as much or 3 times as much. I'm just wondering if that could be alleviated, that concern, by figuring out what they pay, what they charge in Minnesota, where they've been doing it for a long time. Like what's their traditional rates of charge? Is this similar to what they traditionally charge where they're established in the states they're established? Is there any way of finding that out, or do we care?
I would be happy to call the references back. I felt like everyone I talked to was great. And I had another woman that left me a message this afternoon that I hadn't had a chance to call back.
Bonnie, I think you've done this really well researched. The only thing I was concerned about is the bait and switch or whatever, where you sign on and you're all invested and then they charge higher. And so my only point was, is this their traditional fee scale, or is it something a lot different elsewhere where they are established?
So I just would like to chime in. My impression from when I participated with them is that they seemed surprised that they were so much lower than everybody else. So I think it sounds like that's really close to what they usually charge, because they said, wow, we didn't realize we were that much cheaper than the others. So I really don't think that this is unusual for what they charge. That was my impression.
That's really helpful. That makes sense.
Yeah. I think Carrie raises a good point. I don't think it should change our action tonight, but I think it would be good to follow up and see what they charge their school districts, their own state, and also what the increases have been over the last 2 or 3 years, if any. I mean, as I said, I think we're far enough along, and I think everybody's feeling pretty confident that we can act, but it would be good to have that information at some point in time in the future. So I think Terry raised a good point.
Peter.
They can't really do the bait and switch, right? I mean, they come back in a year with higher prices, we're going to be going out to bid again, right? I mean,
yeah.
So I think a 1 year is with the price difference, and they've been in business a long time. I think it's, worth a shot to see how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's important to realize when we went out to bid last time, Healthy Dollars had a lower rate per participant. And they were transparent about the fact that that was an introductory rate. It was, but it did go up and then it stayed up. We were a bit surprised in the bidding process that there wasn't an incentive there. But, so we did have that experience with Healthy Dollars. It wasn't a surprise, but we did have that experience where their fees went up. So this, I think, is much more indicative of the scope of their business and their fee structure generally. And you're right, Peter, it's a 1 year deal.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I believe we are ready to vote. So the motion was to award the third-party administration to Further. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you for doing all that research, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie. Bonnie's Put a lot of work into this.
Okay. So next up is the VSBA Regional Meeting, 9/22.
So Chris, I don't know if you have more information than I do. Or Don, the VSBA Regional Meeting is going to be virtual, and it's going to be next Tuesday, the 22nd?
22nd, whatever that is, yes.
Yes, I think that's next Tuesday.
Yes,
And
yeah.
the business meeting will start at 5, and the panel portion, I guess, or discussion about the reopening of school will be starting around 5:30. Chris and I were invited to participate along with Jen Gagne, our school district-wide. She's the Highgate COVID coordinator, but she served as our COVID district-wide coordinator through this whole reopening process. And I'm not sure exactly what they're going to ask, but we have lots of documents and lots to share about what our process was. So I think it'll be interesting to hear what folks have to say about the process in their schools.
I think that there are going to be 2 parts to the meeting as far as who participates. For example, Chittenden County, Grand Isle County, and Franklin County are all going to be in the information sharing meeting and the speakers and discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But the business meeting will be Franklin County, and now Grand Isle is part of our region in the redistricting. So that will be a business meeting. Usually that's not terribly lengthy, but because VSBA has redistricted in the state, if your district has been impacted by a restructure, then every representative has to be reelected. So both Tara Sweet, who's done a great job and chairs the Fletcher and Franklin West School Board out of Fairfax, Georgia, and Franklin, and myself, we are the 2 known candidates, but somebody could just on the floor nominate. So I'd encourage people to try to participate. I think it's going to be good information, and you'll get a sense of what's happening in other places. We know we're doing it better than any of those other schools, but it's always nice to see what they may have come up with. I tell my daughter in Burlington and my son-in-law in Colchester that you should come to Franklin County and learn how to do it right. It's great. But anyway, certainly Tara would appreciate, and I would appreciate you participating in the beginning, because we both, I guess, hope to go back. I don't know why, but anyway, I think it'll be an informational evening. I don't think it'll be overwhelming or overloading. We've been rehearsing some of that in the staff. In fact, we have a meeting tomorrow morning. So hope you can attend at least for part of it. And you have to register, Julie. I think everybody's gotten a registration email.
I was just going to ask, did you all get a Google form or some kind of form you had to fill out electronically in your email? You should look for it. Who did it come from, Don?
I think it came from Carrie Lamb or Sue Chakaluski.
I think you're right. I think it was Carrie Lamb.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure we had an opportunity to talk about it.
And numbers are important, but not as nearly as important as when they used to serve dinner. You're on your own for lunch or dinner. So they used to not really say the numbers. We need to know how many pizzas we're going to get or how many wraps, but this year it won't be an issue. All right. Thank you, Julie, for letting me speak.
No problem.
Julie, we don't need to do this tonight, but maybe on the next agenda, we have to vote who's going to represent the Missisquoi Valley School District, both at the VSBA annual meeting, which I've done a few years, but it doesn't have to be me. And who's going to, I think VSBIT may have an annual meeting, and I think you voted on that last year.
It's on the agenda next, Don.
Okay, good.
Good timing.
So on that note, next up on new business is the VSBIT annual meeting.
Yeah, it should say VSBIT and VHI. The annual meetings for, Don's right, they used to take place as early morning meeting during the Vermont School Board Association Superintendent Conference that usually happened in October. And the leaves were out and it was lovely and people congregated at Lake Mooring. But now we're having 2 short little meetings on October 20th at 5 o'clock and October 22nd, I think at 3:30. Mvsd and VHI. The agendas do not have any real decisions. It's accepting minutes from the previous year's meeting, and there will be updates from the executives. So it's really just something that, should the board make the motion to have me be not really the proxy, but the what is the word? I need to look at the actual document. The representative, authorized representative. I can just jump on virtually and pay attention on your behalf and vote, apparently, to accept the minutes. It's not like the year when they were changing the makeup of the board. That was a big year for VI.
I would move that we authorize Julie to be our voting representative.
So we have a motion to have Julie be our authorizing representative. Do I have a second? Terry is a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of having Julie be our authorized representative, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
So now we're on to old business. First up in old business is free student meal availability.
Yeah, Lori, you wanted to do a reminder.
Yes, can you share, or I could share this, the flyer, Julie?
I'll do that, no problem.
Okay. So I just think it's important that we get this information out as much as possible. I know schools have sent it home and schools already started with distribution of free meals, but it was a really big deal that we found out about I don't know, I've lost track of time lately. It seems like a week ago or so that we were going to be able to extend the summer food service program waivers through the USDA, and the state of Vermont was going to be able to serve free meals to all students still acting under the area eligibility without having to record free and reduced price hot lunch statuses and such. So currently our schools are receiving, our students in our community, actually anyone under the 18 years and younger can access free meals through picking them up at our schools, any of our schools, any days during the week, and they can pick up meals for the weekend. That is without having to fill out a free and reduced price hot lunch application, although we are still very strongly encouraging families to complete those applications. One, so they'll be on file later on. So when this waiver ends, December 31st or prior, if funding runs out, they would have that application on file and be able to pick up those services just in a kind of matriculate to the free or reduced status. But also it helps our school in many other ways as far as funding is concerned, like title dollars and such. So we're really encouraging families to still complete these applications. But the waivers do allow for non-congregate feeding, which means that we don't have to have students in one place and be having an academic component to be able to serve the meals. Multiple meals can be picked up in one day. Even children that are not school age or that are not in school can pick up meals. On remote days, they can pick up meals. Again, pick up meals for the weekend. So those pickup times are Monday through Friday, 4 to 6, and that's at any one of our schools. And the other important thing is that it continues to be that children do not have to be present. So, if transportation or something like that or scheduling is an issue, then anyone can pick up meals for those students. And then the way we record them, basically because we're now area eligible, is that we would just record them and get reimbursement for all of those meals, which really helps our hot lunch programs right now as well. So it's kind of a win-win situation, but I just thought it was important to get that information out any way that we can.
I do also want to thank, I'm echoing. I want to thank Jen at Franklin and Tina at the Abbey and their teams for how quickly they had to move from the mindset of a more traditional food program in the fall to just quickly get this process up and running. And I know that Laura and Marnie in central office had to reapply and get those applications in. I just want to thank them for doing it so quickly, because it's so important that we feed all the kids in our community. And this was a great opportunity to do that. So thanks to them.
Absolutely, Marnie, and I would totally agree with you that there was a lot of work done and it was done very quickly to make this happen for families. So that's awesome. I would just add that we did receive a memo today from the the Agency of Ed Child Nutrition Department that there's been very little guidance on these waivers issued by the USDA. So even the AOE is awaiting guidance, but they're allowing us to still act on what they believe the guidance to say. So we are following what they believe their interpretation of the guidance is. And we're doing as we should be doing, but that could, just like any other environment or any other aspect of the environment we're in right now, that could change at any time. But this is what we're doing right now.
Thank you. Let's see. Lost my spot. Old business. Next up is board goals and superintendent job description, an update.
Terry, I think this is you.
I was thinking it might be both of us, and Devin jump in and Joanne jump in anytime too. So we have we've got some approval from the people working on this that we can present two things to you tonight, which would be the superintendent job description and the board job description. And now I'm not sure protocol, do we have to vote on it, or is it just become if we all agree to it without voting? It doesn't seem like it needs Robert's rules to be taken into practice, doesn't it? And just kind of good practice rather than voted on.
I think, if you want the board to own it, it's good to adopt him.
Okay. So,
do you want me to share this one at a time, or?
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we don't have to go through it bit by bit. I think that would be, a lot of time, people's time and the meeting time. I'm hoping people had a chance to read it. And maybe we could ask, is there anyone who didn't have a chance to read the superintendent job description? It looks like everybody's read it then. Does anybody have any comments? I know, Stephen, you sent some. Steve, thank you. And, and of course, Joanne and Devin have been working, and Julie. Did anyone have anything they wanted to add to that one?
Peter.
Is 50 pounds enough, Julie? Do you ever have to lift more than that?
I don't know. Those teachers might weigh a little more than that. Maybe we should round it up.
I would use a dolly and a back brace. Okay. Just follow the VOSHA requirements.
Good to hear.
Yeah, I know. I've created lots of job descriptions and had discussions about how much stooping is involved in this position. But cover all your bases.
Great. Okay, that was good. And so that one wasn't much of a revision from what we had that Pierrette had shared with us and that Hardwick had used, but it's got some other additions. Thank you. So if we're good on that one, maybe we should do them together.
I think that was good work. Good work. I think it's in place, and we'll know how good it is a year or two from now. But I think good work.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. But what about the board description? That one hasn't been up there as long. The board job description. Is there anyone who hasn't had a chance to look at that?
I did not do that one today. I did not, but it's all right.
Yeah.
I didn't do that one either.
Okay, well, why don't we pull it up if that's okay with you, Julie? Do you want to?
I will do that. Let me. Oops, this one.
It's a joint effort.
I threw in the logo and I made the font a little bigger at the top for you, Terry.
You did more than that. It looks really good. So I can't read it from where I'm at. I mean, I'm wearing my glasses sitting up close. I'd have to be like this to see this. So
I was gonna say, can we zoom in?
Yes,
absolutely. Why don't I give it a little bit too? Just the top part and some of the bullets. Role of the school board is to ensure the district is responsive to the values, beliefs, and priorities of the community. A board member must carry out responsibilities for the benefit of and in the interest of individuals and groups in the school district. While individual board members have no authority outside of legally called board meetings, members must be able to perform all activities listed when gathered as a corporate body. And it has you supervising me, reporting to your community as their elected trustee. I like that phrasing. And your big responsibilities are establishing vision and goals for the district, managing district policies, providing fiscal oversight and ensuring accountability, establish an effective and efficient board structure, and serve as leaders and representatives of the community and as advocates for students in the school district. I love those 5 areas. And of course, there are bullets underneath of what those examples of those things are.
Terry or Julie, has this been something similar to this been in existence? I've been on board member for a number of years and I didn't realize such a thing existed for the board, but has it been around and we just ignored it?
I haven't seen one either. Purette might know the answer to that one.
It does make, I think to me, it looks good. And again, we'll know after we use it.
Terry, where did you get the exemplar, the benchmark?
This one, well, it was a combination. Devon, different articles, California School Board, Kansas School Board, VSBA. I didn't think had as good as. I didn't find theirs as helpful. They're usually very helpful, but this time I didn't find it as helpful. So this is kind of a combination of a lot of different places. And Devin cleaned it up.
I think it's good. Personally, I think we go with it. And it's like any other policy or action. After we've used it, we'll say maybe we a little tweak here or there, but good to go.
I like your thinking, Don. Okay. So I guess we're waiting to see if we can have it. We're going to turn it over to you, Chris.
Okay. Well, first up, we may as well do the superintendent job description. I'd entertain a motion to accept the superintendent job description as prepared by the committee. Peter just asked if we can format to what one page. Is that for the board goals or board description?
I wondered about that too and thought, yeah, we can just wordsmith that or chop it or format or get rid of one of the bullets somewhere, combine them.
I can do that. Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. So back to the motion. Entertain a motion to accept the superintendent job description.
I'll make the motion, Chris.
Devin's the first.
I'll do it.
Don's the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the superintendent's job description, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0. Next up, I'll entertain a motion to accept the school board job description. Joanne's the first. Steve's the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0. Thank you very much. You guys did a great job.
Chris,
Don.
I'd like to commend the committee too, but I'd also like to suggest that we start looking as time permits. I know we're getting near budgets, but I think we should look at the other staff in the office, like Kosha and Laura, the people who are in lead administrative positions, to make sure we have current job descriptions that reflect current expectations. So kudos to the committee, and you three determine what or if we should do next, but I think it'd be good to work through this throughout the year.
Thank you, Don, for the support on the other job descriptions. I'm not quite sure well, just to give you an update on where we're going now, we're hoping to do the mission statement and get that together.
Yeah.
And that's going to drive a lot of the other stuff that we're working on. I'd also like to see us come up with that performance appraisal process sooner rather than later, as we agreed to in the retreat, at the retreat. So, but Don, I do have a question. When you talk about other job descriptions like COSHAs, et cetera, you mean for the admin to be working on those, not for the school board, right?
You know, I think, and Julie certainly would be involved because they report to her. But what I'm thinking is, since we've worked through this and you people have kind of got the language down and the process down, that maybe you could provide guidance over the year to make sure that the job descriptions for these other people are current, if they even exist.
Yes, we have job descriptions for our other administrators, particularly whenever we hire somebody new, we make sure that we update job descriptions. But that's certainly an administrative task we can make sure and go through and ensure that they are up to date and we like the way they look.
Good.
Peter.
Where will this document live? I just so it doesn't just go in a drawer somewhere and we forget about it, that we can review it and look back on it, and maybe even more importantly, that the public can view it and see what school board members do, you know, and if, you know, I'm not trying to discourage people from running, but if they wanted to run, they could see what, you know, what the job entails. So I just like to make it visible anyways.
Well, I know we have a school board section on our website, so it might be a place to put that. Obviously, I will keep it as well in our drive because I think you're right. It dovetails nicely into one of your goals, which is to evaluate your functioning as a board. And you've got those 5 areas. So when the group creates a rubric or, you know, a survey of some kind for the board to look at, you know, every year, excuse me, it might make sense to have it follow those 5 categories.
Yeah.
Terry.
I was just going to say, we also need to come up with a process for onboarding future board members. You know, poor Joanne, when she joined, I know circumstances were different, but we didn't have a mentor to throw, you know, to help her through it or to talk with her about different things. And it'd be nice if we come up with some kind of process for that and also have the job descriptions. So that's another thing we can add to some of the things we want to do. And Joanne will probably be able to help us a lot by telling us what she would have liked. Good, thank you.
I like that idea of having a board mentor.
Great work. Thank you very much. Next up is financial updates.
Okay, I think I'm going to present. There is a financial report through today in the board drive. If you just click on it and open it up as a preview, you can access it that way. If you double click on it, there must be something, and maybe Yashua can help me understand why this is happening, but it changes all of the code, and I'm not sure why, because I'm saving it as a PDF, but for some reason when it's coming from the software, I save it as a PDF. Anything I do that with, even though it's coming in that way, and I haven't figured out why. So let me just present. And
which document, Laura? Is it FY21?
I'm going to, if it's okay, Julie, I'll present so I can slide through it. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Almost there. Oops. And I did what I told you not to do. Never mind. I guess, Julie, can you try?
Okay. Which document is it?
It's the financial report, fiscal year 21 Mvsd financial report. Must be because I've already opened it. I'm not sure. I'll work on that with Robert. I apologize about that.
All right. I am opening it in preview only. It
Yes.
says you're still presenting, Laura. You have to stop presenting.
So anyway, while she's pulling that up, and I apologize about that. Basically, this is your expenditures through today. I will say that while you're taking a look at this, or if some of you have looked at it, please understand that this is currently still a work in progress. I know you heard that from me a lot last year, but we actually have recently received business rules that we're supposed to be applying for the new chart of accounts, and there's yet to be a training on those new business rules, and it's a 100-and-something page document. The state's been promising that's going to happen at some point, and we actually do have a date. I think it's in the next couple of weeks. They're actually giving us some training on how to apply these business rules consistently. So I would just ask that you understand it's a work in progress, and there's still going to be a lot of moving parts. For instance, we've recently had to update our capital project line one more time to a whole different code, and so every time we do that, we have to make journal entries and move budgets and things like that. So just wanted you to understand that. This financial report also includes all your COVID expenses. They're rolled up into the same consistent object code, so that the 100, 200, or 300 codes that your other supply and equipment and material lines are in. I'll report back out specifically on COVID at the beginning of next month as well. I do want to say that I'm pretty happy with the bottom line of the financial report. Currently, administration's been working extremely hard, along with me and Julie, ridiculing expenses and just making sure that teachers have what they need, but that we are understanding the uncertainty of the times and the financial kind of outlook, and we're being pretty conservative. And teachers and administration have been really great about helping us do that. So if you get to the last page, Julie, I just want to focus on bottom line.
I'm just trying not to scroll too fast. It gives people dizzy.
And it's in, And again, if anybody ever has questions on this, it's in your drive, and I can email it out if it's not opening for you either. But I just want to draw your attention to the last page, where you'll see our adopted budget column, the $37,906,229. You'll see the year-to-date column. It's the third one over. That's the funds that have actually been expended to date. And then you'll have the encumbrance, which includes all of our salary and benefit lines primarily at this time. A lot of our contract expenditures for out-of-district placements and other contracted services are included there. We are still working through some of those contracts, so not everything is encumbered. Been some delays in some of those this year. And then you'll notice the year-to-date encumbrance, that 29 million, and then the balance column as well. That does not include a lot of uncertain costs at this time. So we still don't understand all of the COVID costs that we will incur. As I've said before, I'm concerned about some of those COVID costs being as unpredictable as they are, and that's shared by my professional organization. Some school districts are seeing very, very significant increases in energy costs due to running air handlers and things like that. That's only going to increase as we have to have windows open in the winter and air handlers bringing in cool air and running all the time. So unemployment costs, cost of leave and things like that. So, right now I think we're comfortable, but continue to dislike the uncertainty of the times that we're in. Next month, when I bring you this, I will include revenues. Part of the reason I didn't do that this time is because the revenues are also so uncertain. I just want to share with the board that I am currently vice president of the professional organization, so I'm of the Vermont Association of School Business Officials, which allows me to participate as an executive committee member, which I was fearful would take up a lot of my time, and it does take some time, but I get first kind of front row seats to all the information that comes out, and I get to be part of those discussions that are happening. And right now there's a lot of discussions around all of the different COVID-related CARES Act revenue streams that are that school districts are supposed to have access to and will have access to, but there's a significant lack of guidance to how those rules and regulations are going to apply, when we're going to receive the money, and the prioritization of those funds. So I'm working with my professional organization to make sure that we're doing what's in the best interest of the school district. So that would include FEMA money if we can access it, CRF fund, so Coronavirus Relief Fund, which is broken up into summer food service, LEA funds, and the air quality grant, and then also ESSER funds. So just today I spent another 2 to 3 hours with that professional group trying to make sure that all the schools are doing the same thing in the state of Vermont, so we can maximize the funds and help the ed fund as much as possible, but that it's in an equitable way, and some schools don't suffer while others benefit from the sacrifice of other people. So a lot of moving parts. I just asked the board to be patient. We talk all the time as business managers about how this is going, how this looks for us professionally when it's almost impossible to do our jobs. And given the fact that we're also incorporating a new chart of accounts and new software into this, not to instill, lack of confidence in what we're doing, but it's a concern for all of us. And at least I'm not alone in that, but it's a difficult time right now to manage finances in the state of Vermont with very little guidance. So I think the more conservative we can be, which is why I'm happy with our financial outlook right now, and the cooperation of all the administrators is really important. I think we need to keep being that way until we have more certainty, for sure.
Yeah, and I want to thank Laura and the business office for their incredible work. I mean, Laura worries, goes to sleep to make sure that we are doing the very best that we can for our community, and is an incredible steward of our finances. And in these times where, I'm going to be careful, where the Department of Finance within education is struggling with how to manage and release these funds. The legislature is obviously still grappling with how they are going to fund education and what kind of changes they may want or what kind of priorities. Having somebody like Laura who pays such strict attention to it puts us in very good standing. And I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you very much. Don't see any questions or comments, so thank you, Laura, and I guess we can move on.
Chris?
Oh, here we go. Don?
I did have a comment, apparently I was on. Laura, any feedback on the monies for the clean air money? Or?
Nothing specific, Don. It was really discouraging to me. I mean, will we receive money? Yes. Are our applications in? Yes. Did the facility directors work absolutely incredibly hard getting those applications in? Yes. If anyone in the state of Vermont gets money, I would hope we're top of the list, because we, but as late as last week, the guidance that the AOE, and I'm going to be careful too, but it's really hard not to be frustrated, that we were getting from the AOE finance department was different than what we were receiving directly from the agency that was managing the funds, which is Efficiency Vermont. So I think we're going to get there, and I know we will get some of those funds. Yes, Don. It's just when, how, what they're going to approve, what we can replace with other funds if those funds don't come through or portions of it don't come through. One of the biggest things for me that's really frustrating right now is we had to sit through an almost day-long FEMA presentation, which was great because we were supposed to get FEMA money at 75% of the expenses that qualified, things like extra custodial help, PPE equipment, sanitation equipment. And then a week later they say, oh, we're not even sure if school districts qualify for FEMA. Oh, and by the way, if you do, it has to be used first, but we don't, so it's,
No, thank you. I've been hearing from some other people just casually that there's a lot of frustration. So I thought maybe you had better news than they had shared.
I wish I did, but we're pushing hard. The VASBO group is having 2 special meetings this week to formulate our stance on these funds and how we're going to react to the Agency of Education around the lack of guidance, to make sure that we're using the funds as appropriately as possible. So I'm in the loop. I'm just waiting for information. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Good luck. Okay, so now we're on to other business, and first up is we're going to revisit the employee leave request. We had touched on this last week, but it hadn't made it on the agenda, so it's on the agenda this time. So we'll need a motion for approving an employee leave request. Peter's the first. Don's the second. Discussion.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to have any specifics around the needs. I think you've all seen the letter in the folder. It was in last time. And I appreciated you letting me keep the person on leave between meetings. But I think it's the best interest of the employee and their needs.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the employee leave request, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0.
Bonnie, will you let them know tomorrow? Thank you.
Okay, and tour of the ag building by the board. Some discussion.
So I had mentioned this in a meeting a while back in passing, and Dan Palmer and Mr. Hartman apparently took me quite seriously and have tried to arrange something. But I thought it was important that the whole board be able to participate. So that's why I wanted to see it on the agenda to see if people are interested. I don't know if Mr. Hartman wants to discuss it further on what kind of a tour they would like to give. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware.
Is Jay still with us?
He is.
I am, Don, but it's an elementary board meeting, so I'm thinking you're thinking maybe about the ag facility in Highgate.
No, I'm thinking that after we get this item done, I'd like to hear a few opening remarks from you about the wonderful things that are happening at MVU tonight.
I will simply say on behalf of Dan and Jen and myself, we're just going to echo everything that you've heard from the elementary schools. It's been a tremendous undertaking in the whole district, and we're just really proud of everybody, especially our students and staff at the middle school and the high school, for what has probably been one of our best openings under the most unusual circumstances.
40 years ago, did you ever think we'd have this type of situation?
I wasn't sure I'd still be in the seat in 40 years.
It was something to see.
So getting back to the ag tour, is this something the rest of the board's interested in doing soon? Or, so I see a couple hands, so I'm assuming that's they want to do it, or is it questions?
It's a question.
All right, Terry, and then Don.
I have a question. Is this the same tour that we went on before, where we met the animals and the kids showed us stuff? Is this the one we went on? I forget when it was, in the spring or winter?
Last October.
Last fall.
Last fall. Okay. That was great. Is it the same thing?
Jay?
Maybe Rose.
I guess I'll ask what would the board like to see? The building hasn't changed. We do have some newer, younger animals. Some of those from last year are now located in freezers on our campus because they've met their annual demise. We are probably open to whatever the board would like to do. So we're just simply, I guess, looking for suggestions and/or direction.
I enjoyed hearing the students. I loved hearing the students and the teachers talk about what they thought the program was.
Well, I would love to, have that as a virtual presentation at some point. I do want to be careful about the fact that we're not having anyone go into our buildings because of the cleaning schedules and so forth. So Jay, do you have any ideas of how you should one or more board members want to see, maybe they weren't able to attend last time, what kind of, obviously you'd want to do it after the students leave and before the custodians get in there.
Joanne.
So I guess that was just my question, and I'm not sure if the question needs to go to Peter or Dawn or Mr. Hartman. Is, are we trying as a board? I would love to see the ag. I did not see last fall.
Right.
I love being the new person in the group, so I can say that it would be not my first time visiting the ag department. But are we trying to kind of get out there as a smaller group, but at least still be able to visit certain things? And so we could start there at the ag. And then I'm just going to use the example of, I know Swanton is building this new garage shed shop, then maybe next month or November, we pick another place. Maybe we don't, not all go, but 3 or 4 of us, if we could go to visit, if it's an outside walkthrough location, not where we're actually sitting down and having a meeting, just showing our presence and showing that we care about what we're voting on and what we'd like to implement in the future. Is this where we're going with these facility meets, or just trying to understand?
I think Peter, I'm not going to speak for Peter because I know he will do that for himself. I think the idea just came around, Peter had this, as he said, made a comment about wanting to see it. I don't know if you were at that last meeting last October. And plus it was raining cats and dogs, so I don't know if Peter actually got to see it then. I don't know that we have an intention of necessarily going to see if we have a big project. Last year, everybody went and saw the new connector to JPod, and we went and saw those chillers. I think Paul Gregoire could talk for an hour about those chillers. It was a huge project, and we made sure the board went and saw that huge project, right? I think we want to do things like that. I don't know that we would see every single, we'd obviously, but I know that one of the things we wanted to do is see every school, and we never got into the Babcock building because we were waiting for spring, and then we couldn't. So I know we definitely, when we can get back around, we are definitely wanting to go to see the Babcock building.
I would suggest that we revisit the possibility of facility tours when the facilities are more open to public than they are now. Because that's the other thing. If we have a public meeting that no public can go around and see these facilities. I mean, I would love to tour the buildings, and we never did get to see Babcock and stuff like that. So I feel we have some unfinished business, but I think at this point we need to wait till COVID is less of an issue. Any other discussion regarding tours?
Chris, I just want to clarify. I personally wasn't so interested in going into the building as to hearing from the students. I mean, there was so much enthusiasm last year. And I think we had a new teacher last year, Julie.
Yes.
My interest in this was some way to get the students and the teacher to talk a little bit about their priorities for this year, anything they thought were special achievements last year after we left there on the rainy night. So that's what I was looking to, and I don't know how you pull it off, but if there's a way to do that, I was thinking it would probably be a virtual thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give them some accolades. And, it was really amazing because I know that we've had presentations at a number of board meetings over the years, but I can't tell you, I would say at least 3 or 4 times after that meeting, I kind of bumped into some of these young people. either a sporting event or at Hannaford's or somewhere, and they remembered that we came and they go, they want to share with you. I mean, it was really neat. One of the kids that's quite a golfer there, Charlie somebody, I can't even remember who it's, but you probably know him, Peter. But anyway, these kids, I think, really were honored that we showed up there.
Yes, I agree.
Peter.
Just like to follow up on Joanne's point and Julie's point. For like Joanne stated, I think it's important that when we approve these projects and new buildings or whatever it is, that, and I'm not saying every single thing, but the bigger projects that we approve, that we go and take interest in, look at what was done. I think our new task force is going to be more looking at what needs to be done in the future. Those are the type of things that we're going to be needing to look at. But I think as a board, we should, to Joanne's point, take interest in things that have been completed and try to look at those things. And, I think Joanne was, hit the nail on the head that's what we're trying to do.
Terry.
I just would like to add, we just ratified or adopted a job description tonight. And I think it's really easy to get mission creep. And I wonder if the best time to do all this is during a board meeting when the board is supposed to do business versus, if we find some other avenues or ways to do this, like community involvement. I don't know if it's something different than just a regular board meeting. If it's every quarter we do a community meeting or something, where you get to talk to teachers and the board. I think we need to get creative with some of this because I think that we just need to look at what our job is, what we're supposed to be focusing on, as opposed to what's really nice to do. Maybe the nice to do's have to go elsewhere. And that's something that Devin and Joanne are working on as soon as we get the mission in terms of what do we want to do in these meetings and what do we need to do in other meetings. That's just my 2 cents.
Any other comments or questions?
It got quiet. Am I wrong, everybody? I don't know.
No, I think this is definitely a topic for further discussion. This was only for discussion tonight. There was no action needed or anything, so we'll definitely be revisiting this again. Thank you, and then we'll move on to next up is future meeting dates. Our next meeting is October 6th, which will be at 6:30 and it'll be held virtually. I don't believe we have a need for executive session, so unless there's anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So do you have something to add, or are you motioning to adjourn, Peter?
Motion to adjourn.
Perfect. So Peter's the first. Joanne's the second. All those in favor of adjourning at 8:16, raise your hand.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0. Thank you very much, everybody. We are adjourned.